welcome back to another episode where I get to highlight and learn so much about entrepreneur stories, their backgrounds, and then just kind of learn a little bit through the lessons that they've learned as well. So please welcome my guest, Stacey, with us today. Stacey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I've been looking forward to it. Thanks so
Um,
much for extending the invitation.
Of course. Well, Stacey and I have known each other for a few months, I think, at this point. And we're both, and she's a coaching client of my dad's, and because of that, we see each other almost every day virtually, and we've gotten to meet in person a few times, which has been really great. But Stacey will she'll share a little bit about what she does in her story, but she's one of those people who just has a big heart and really cares about everyone that she works with. So I'm super excited to showcase a little bit about what she does. So, Stacey, why don't you take it away and just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it?
Sure, sure. I own, with my mom, a senior home care agency in Washtenaw, Wayne, and parts of Oakland County. We celebrated 18 years in May, so I'm really excited and proud of that. Such a huge milestone for us. Because during COVID, I think there were a couple of anniversaries where we failed to celebrate.
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting how I got started. When I was in college and in graduate school, I worked as a home aide, a home health aide. I worked for the Department of Community Mental Health. I did it for a couple reasons. It was flexible. It was easy and fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoy spending time with people. I enjoy helping people. And honestly, when I started, I was a junior in college, and I thought it would be a good resume builder, a good way to have client interaction, because I had my sights set on graduate school.
Mm,
So that's a little bit about how I started in home care. And then once I graduated, I went ahead and did something very different. I spent the next 10 years in juvenile justice, working with class one felony offenders. I loved that. I loved every day of that job. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration because
most
it's been
days.
many years, but I loved it. I worked with incredible professionals. I learned so much. Every day was really challenging. And then when I became a mom, as much as I loved that job, the schedule wasn't conducive to young children. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to contribute. And something that has always been my personal kind of mantra is, my mentor had said to me, "You don't have to do anything different. You just have to do it better." So, in other words, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just make sure that it's a smoother ride. And so, I approached my mom about doing this and expanding, and we are a great team. We have a little bit different interests. We're each able to do kind of all of the administrative tasks and the training, but things that I prefer to do, she doesn't, and vice versa. So we really make a great team.
Hmm.
And as a young mom, well, I don't know if young mom would be the accurate term, but when my kids were young, I wasn't necessarily young. It was really helpful to be able to scale our business, and be able to attempt that balance of family life and work life. So that was really helpful. So
Nice.
that's kind of my evolution, of
Yeah.
how I got to this place. And one thing that we do, I think, really well at Choice Senior Home Care is helping those living with Alzheimer's,
Mm,
dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease. And I think a couple things. My clinical background, I was trained as a clinical social worker. Um, my clinical experience coupled with my previous work experience and kind of a challenging, thinking out of the box, creative approaches. um, you know, the more challenging, the more sophisticated care, um, doesn't scare me, doesn't frighten me. Um, and those are the people who need that much more patience, respect, and dignity in their care. because Alzheimer's and dementia, Lewy body dementia, even vascular dementia, those are challenging times for the client, and they need all the care and patience that they can get.
Definitely. I think it's really special, and I can hear how much you care about, the people that you work with and some of these issues that I think, we know it's hard, but unless you've really been there, you've really experienced it with either a loved one or you've seen it day to day, it's really hard for you to grasp just how hard it is to watch and how hard it is to just feel like that. So you're doing some great stuff, Stacey. Thank you so much for sharing. I would love to know, given, these two, I would say they're different, but not too different, right? Dealing with juvie, what was the correct term?
Juvenile felony offenders.
Yeah. And then going into now with choice senior home care, I would love to know what are some of like maybe the similarities you've seen or anything that you've done with choice senior home care that you're like, oh, I was able to do this or I know how to do this because of all the years that I did.
I think the idea of supporting and helping people, I find rewarding. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love helping seniors and working with seniors. I love visiting with them. I feel like every day or every visit is like a history lesson. These
Yeah.
people have lived such full, rich lives, just so much history. Some of our previous clients were incredible inventors, and just have had these amazing contributions to our country during wartime, for example. Just
Right.
incredible. I love that. I think creating a supportive environment. I think there's overlaps, in both parts of my career. Um, you know, similar challenges, working with the team, trying to make sure that staffing is cohesive, making sure that staff have what they need to do their job, because what we do is really fulfilling and rewarding. I think I highlighted maybe some of the more challenging issues, but
Sure.
for the most part, it's really, really wonderful and rewarding. And as sometimes clients don't always realize the kind of help and support they need to age safely at home. Once we are in there and develop relationships, I mean, their lives are so much fuller.
Right.
And I love that.
That's so great. I mean, I know from firsthand experience, like with my grandma, I grew up in that house because we wanted to live with her full time and we wanted to make sure she was taken care of. And obviously, we know none of us were like trained or anything. When she did need a lot of help, we had people come in. But it is a lot of work, but it was what she wanted, it was what my family wanted for her, and to have that be an option was just such a blessing, because I don't know if we touched on it specifically already yet, but do you wanna share a little bit about what specifically you guys do for seniors and how you take care of them? Because I don't know if we've talked enough about that, and I know
Yeah,
that can be
yeah.
kind of like a misconception area as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we provide care for seniors in their home and wherever home is. The home that they've lived with or raised their family for the last 50 years. Um, if they're living with adult children
Mhm.
or if they are in a community and need extra care or support. We do everything from companionship, personal care, meal preparation is really, really important. Good nutrition, sharing a meal, sharing a cup of coffee. We do light housework, doctor's appointments, errands, medication reminders, working with physical and occupational therapy to practice those exercises, mobility assistance, and hospice supportive care. So, although we just work with seniors, we provide, a full kind of a full spectrum of care services.
Yeah.
And again, to highlight, we specialize in caring for those living with Alzheimer's, dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease, and vascular dementia, either due to stroke or age.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you touched on it because it sounds like you guys cover like pretty much anything that anyone could think of. So you're
We
really
do.
looking to give them that full support, that it's not something that, "Oh, I can only do this, I'll have to refer you out." Because I think a really big part that's not always talked about is there, especially when you're at that age and you're at that vulnerable state, you wanna be with someone you can trust and you feel comfortable around. And that's a huge aspect of aging and just wanting to be comfortable in that house, whether, you grew up there, your family grew up there, or it's a newer home for you. So it sounds like you guys really want to make sure in every area that you can support your clients.
Yeah, yeah, and we take the guesswork, out of training and hiring.
Mm,
To start off with, we've thoroughly vet, our team members. We do local, state, national background checks and driver's license checks, and then we monitor that ongoing. And so we take the guesswork out of that. Your grandma was so lucky to have family so close. That's not
right.
always the case.
Yeah.
So we can also be kind of a link between, the senior and their family member, who lives, across the state or across the country.
Yeah, I know so many people, and that's, I want to say, definitely a big misconception. It was a misconception my family definitely had, because obviously my family, my grandma and my grandpa, they came over to the States in, like, what was it, the 60s or something. So the world was very different back then to what it is now. So they were like, every nurse that comes into your house is bad and everything's gonna be bad. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, we're not gonna send you anywhere if you don't want to. But like, just because this professional's coming in to make sure you're like alive and healthy does not mean they're gonna randomly like push you down the stairs. Not that, outliers can't happen, but it sounds like you guys do a very good job of being on top of it, taking care and making sure you're hiring, to the utmost standard.
Yeah, yeah. All things being equal, there's better personality, there's better client caregiver matches.
Sure.
And we do a lot of work up front,
Wow.
with trying to make sure that, our starts of care are successful. When we have a mismatch, doesn't mean that anybody did anything wrong. It just there's a better fit out there. And
Mhm.
so we pivot. We empower our staff to make those decisions. And, we do something really unique in that our staff choose their own schedules.
Okay.
They're choosing who to work with, when to work. We feel like that empowers them, and they're not choosing to work with someone because that it fits their availability. They're choosing to work with that someone. They're making a commitment,
Mhm.
and we think that goes a long way to solidifying the relationship. It goes a long way to how dependable, and reliable. um, and so that's a really, really important piece of what we do.
Mhm.
And we kind of have two ways of doing it. We lean on technology. So our staff are always able to update their availability because things
Mhm.
change. We know things like who's comfortable driving a client in their car, who is a great baker, who's a great cook, pet allergies. We do pet
Sure.
care. So we collect all of this information and make sure that it's always current. And so that gives us a head start on then talking with staff and making those good matches. And my partner, Kim, who's also my mom, she and I do all of the care consultations. And, the goal is to get a really good roadmap.
Mhm.
It's not only for our staff and, holding each other accountable, but it's a way to reassess our progress. And when things change, sometimes people are healing and getting better. Sometimes that's not the case. But it's important to reassess, making sure we're hitting the mark. We're delivering the best care. We're communicating in the way that everybody wants us to communicate. And and it allows us to, it gives it's a tool for telling us how we're doing, as well
Yeah.
as making sure that we're hitting the mark, in a number of different areas for our clients and their families.
That's so great, and it's great to hear that you guys go above and beyond when you're matching because this happens to everyone when it comes to work, but it's really easy to get burnt out, and it's really easy to feel like this is just something that I'm gonna clock in and clock out of. It's not something I put a lot of care into. But obviously, when it comes to your staff and you're doing your job of well, this person loves to do this, and this client really needs someone in this area, and then of course they choose that. It really deepens the relationship, and it shows that this person is showing up to do more than just what is required of them at the end of the day. So I think that
Yeah.
it goes a really long way to show that you really care about the people you work with and the people you work for, and just making sure everyone has, that comfort and care that they need during times like these. So
It's a
stay
two-way street. It's
yeah,
a two-way street. Not only do I want to, make sure that my clients are happy, but I wanna make sure my staff are happy too.
right.
So, it can be more work initially for our team, but it is worth all of the effort, to try to make
Yeah.
those initial successful matches and to start care off well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stacey, for coming on, sharing a few minutes of your story, what you guys are doing. You're doing an amazing job. And like I said, I've gotten to know you pretty well within the past few months. And I just know from everything that Stacey's ever shared or told us that she just goes above and beyond for anyone that comes across her. So I'm super, super privileged to know someone as awesome as Stacey. So I'll make sure of all of her information in the description. If you're interested in learning more, reaching out, or anything like that, make sure you go cut, copy, paste, click, whatever makes it easier for you. So, Stacey, I appreciate your time today. This was really amazing and really informative for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thanks for having me.
Of course. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time.